Okay. I do very well for being quite digitally phobic, so bear with me. Okay. My name's Sarah Pickthall, and my organisation, it's really me working in collaboration with fantastic partners, is Cusping. Last year, my sort of strapline was making people's lives feel better and mean more. And this year, it's very much the edges that make us human. I'm going to do a little bit of a bio, a quick one, coming up from the bottom to the top, to tell you a little bit about my digital televisual dance, so to speak, and the sort of person I am and what makes me part of this program today. I trained in dance and theatre, and I was a specialist kabuki practitioner in Japan. And at that time I became very interested in iconics and symbolism, and got very interested in sign language, partly because both my father and my brother were deaf, but they weren't sign language users. My performance career was sort of then interrupted as my legs my legs gave up, basically. And so when I came back, I studied psycholinguistics and also trained to be a teacher of deaf children, and then moved into deaf television. And the brief was to create a program for deaf kids that was really going to connect with them. But what we found as part of that process, we created something that all kids enjoyed. And my hands were two hands called the handymen. One was blue and one was yellow, and they made little make-and-dos in a little stage, lots of hands clapping, and they also did sign language as well. So that sense of creativity being at the heart of developing very exciting, accessible, digital products, so to speak. Then my hands gave up, and so I moved more into exploring what it was around barriers of disabled and deaf creatives. What was it that was stopping us from moving forward? It seemed that we were sort of left out of any developing movement. And so set up sync, and the idea of syncopation, an emphasis on a usually unemphasized beat. What was it within us as disabled and deaf creatives and managers? What were the stories we were telling ourselves about not being able to move forward? And at that time, it was all very much about legislation and being left out, and rights, and the moral obligation of people to include us, to be included. And yes, that was good and important. That still is absolutely important. But through that thinking, I suddenly became connected with the creativity that I'd always had, that aesthetic, and that sitting at the heart of the whole diversity thing. And so Push Me was a project that I worked alongside Watershed in Bristol and BDH. It was a commission for the space, and it was something that took us on a weird and wonderful, explicitly painful and brilliant journey last year, and it still very much exists. And I had a real journey into audio description, which I'll tell you a little bit about later. Also, as a practicing artist, I'm exploring my own heritage. My great-great-uncle was an extraordinary man, Muhammad Marmaduke Pickthall. He translated the Quran into English. It wasn't something I knew about. It was on a shelf out of reach, because I came from a Jewish Catholic background. That was intense enough. So it was only when my father died that we were allowed to get to the shop. Oh my goodness, 100 years ago, this extraordinary man went to Istanbul to explore what it was that was happening with the destruction of the Ottoman Empire. So I'm actually exploring at the moment, will be creating my own collection of experiences, a sort of psychogeographical thingy, and it's going to involve live streaming and transmedia, and that's incredibly exciting. And right at the tip of the top is Short Circuit, which is a great little action research project funded by Arts Council, which is looking at the interface between disabled and deaf creatives and techies and developers, and seeing the magic that comes when they come together in an equal and quite edgy interface. So I think that gives you a sort of context of who I am and where I'm going and where I've been. Okay, right, I'm on last. And like with all access considerations, it's a bit of a bolt-on. It's just, I really enjoyed it. I didn't say to Sian, I thought, okay, I'm right, I'm last. But it was quite useful for me to be last, actually. So, we're going to be talking citrus, okay? We're going to be exploring that, opening that up a bit. That's me biting into a lemon. It's quite tangy. The idea being that access is usually an afterthought and there's some discomfort. What's interesting is that babies love the tang of citrus. You know, it's something when we're babies, it's not really problematic for us. It's something that we enjoy. As we go through life, the citrus, yeah, it's lovely in a gin, it's nice in a lemonade, but also raw, it's complex and difficult. Access consideration, building access in, is always considered to be quite labour intensive. In as much that we're here in this domain exploring all things digital and live streaming, and that's really hard anyway, let alone having to build in access considerations. And it's something that Sally was saying earlier, it's just the fear of failing, of getting it wrong. It's very exposing. So don't really go there, because if you go there, you're bound to get it wrong. You're going to have a whole huge critical mass coming in and telling you that you did so. And this idea of experts by experience, it's something that artist Bobby Baker is using in the development of her new digital project. She's been working in the field of art for over 30 years. And, you know, we're a funny bunch, really. But that's good. So, moving on, it's slow-mo. I really like what Finton was saying. Let's explode the lemons. Okay? I put forward to you that access is something that can be part of the start of your live streaming thinking. Okay? The aesthetics that comes through when you add and explore and connect, and it's the juice, you know, it adds something, it doesn't detract. And if you do consider it and put it creatively at the start of your process, it will set you apart as a natural part of what you do. And it's having interesting dialogues. Don't be frightened of it. It's a delicious thing to do. Last week I was working with some pals at the BBC Academy, and we were breaking down all those statistics about disability and who's being left out and la-la-la-la. I thought, oh God, that's not right as a stats, and the stats are all slightly out of date, and it's quite, again, that heavy feel to it. So I did my own little lemon segmentation, because really it's about real people and our multiple experiences of feeling the way we do and being the people we are. So the segmentation, you can't really see it very clearly, or I can't, maybe that's my eyes. More the considerations, well, I'm not very comfortable. I'm not comfortable in this room. I've certainly been a wee bit cold. But I can't hear very well. Of course, there are variations of deafness, etc. But, you know, how does that impact on your life and your ability to connect with something online or see something live? I'm not connected, I'm not online, or I don't understand what's going on. It's what Martin was saying earlier, you know, for young people who've never experienced going to the panto before, that's a reality. You're tired, you're not so hot on reading, you can't see very well. I should really move this up. But you're not feeling great. And again, things that have been mentioned throughout this afternoon, short attention span. It's a real issue. And also, culturally, it's how our younger people, they're on multi-consoles, they're flipping here, there and everywhere, they're doing some sorts. So there are 11 million disabled people about 2 years ago, that was the figure. It is about disability, it's about impairment, but it's also the multiplicity of our experienced lives and our culture. Okay, there's me as the handyman, just about to go in and make a seaside jelly. And this to our right, is that a lemon or is it a strange thing underneath the water? What I'm saying is access is an integral part of what we stream that brings about art, new ways of making work, live and streamed, and weaves people in and builds our fan base. Now I focus on that strange little thing. Is it a lemon or is it Sue Austin? Who could have failed to have missed this extraordinary underwater wheelie person? Extraordinary artist, Sue Austin, defies everything and surfs the edge of a wheelchair, water, you gotta be kidding. No, not Sue Austin. Now this is the title of our half-hour documentary on the space called Total Permission. It's available in audio description with captions as well. Sue is one of the 12 unlimited commissions as part of this project that we focused on, making 2 times 90-second promotional bursts of brilliance about these artists along their journey. Now Sue, with the best will in the world, was absolutely wanting to, last year, do live streaming of her underwater ventures. And the technology wasn't really ready, but she really wanted to do that. And she played the game on her own website in releasing videos of her little secret. And we helped her as part of the Push Commission to do that. She's no lemon. Caption, action, the power of subtitles and captions. Well, some of you, or all of you, will know about stage text, and that's something as part of a live performance. You see the captions coming up and through live. To the right, there's Sophie Woolley working within her company, and they have experimented and done some research at Watershed to put more of an emotional context into captioning and graphics alongside, and playing with that and the timing of that. And that's something that Grey Eye Theatre Company have used in their recent production, well, many of their productions, Reasons to be Cheerful. So we see the captions as a live, creative, integral piece of art, adding a completely different layer. In terms of live streaming, having live captioning, something I spoke to Martin about, in terms of archiving on posterity, and what we've talked about, people coming back to view stuff, that's the reality, is that people will do that. That having that stage text captured and then being able to caption it onto archive material is incredibly useful. But I think having the opportunity to play with captions and adding your own language, both written or audio, is a very exciting participatory model and potential. Sign language interpretation, we've all seen it happen live on stage. There's a complexity of actually seeing it streamed live, per se. This was my experience in the opening ceremony of the Paralympic Games. I didn't have a particularly good view, and it was very, very difficult to actually experience that live. Apparently it was a wee bit easier at home. But there's something very exciting about what can do with a sign language interpreter, introducing that as a feed before a performance, seeing the performance live, obviously issues around where you put the camera, etc., and then streaming that live. But it needs more work and attention. But that's not to say that that's not an incredibly exciting thing to do. We also see and understand sign language in performance built in to performance, which was kind of what I was doing with the Handymen a wee while back. But it's something really that can bring a whole new creative dimension to what you're making. Okay, so Push Me. Here we are on the space. It was 24 90-second promos. I don't know how we did it. It pushed me to the limits, but it also pushed the team to the limits. These were digital providers, very keen on the aesthetic, as I am. But I was also, in terms of value-based, absolutely committed to captioning and audio description and access. Now 90 seconds, wow, what a little gem that is in terms of time, because it presents a sort of taste of something and really set up curiosity, which was so valuable to the project and all the social media that we built around it. But when it came to doing audio description of the 90 seconds, that's when our horns locked. And that was really useful. Because we were going to do 90 seconds. No, we had to do 20 seconds intro as well for the audio description. So that was complex, but I won. Yeah! So I did a little intro for each film, setting it up, because for audio description it's about what you can't, what's going on. That's the bottom line. What is going on? Then for some of the films, I was able to weave, where the director had left me some space, just a little of audio description, and particularly because my background was in choreography and dance, I was able to add part of me as artist into that. So what I want to quickly do, and I am conscious of time, is show you the 90 seconds of Claire Cunningham's first film without audio description, and then with. Oh. Is that right? So sorry.
Sometimes.
Okay, let me do that. You might have to watch it on the small screen.
Sometimes I feel like a machine. I forget I was made to touch skin, to feel heat, breath, to have someone's smile pressed into my neck. I wasn't made to click, not with you, or you, or you. But with you, I click, and you, I click. We click, like a click, a trio. Hommage à toi.
Okay. And this is the audio description version.
Push Me for 90 Seconds, audio description introduction. A film of Claire Cunningham dancing in a dark, closed, brick-lined space. She wears a slip with red straps and uses one crutch, and sometimes two. There are close-ups on her feet, her arms, her crutches and her face as she talks. Claire kneels to sift through a stack of broken crutches and chooses one. Animated logo, the space.
Sometimes I feel like a machine.
Push Me for 90 seconds.
I forget
Claire Cunningham.
I was made to touch skin,
Ménage à toi.
to feel heat, breath, to have someone's smile pressed into my neck.
Claire dances with one crutch, leans back. Between two crutches, leans back. Jumps, drawing her foot down along one crutch. Spins, moves across the room, making shadows against the bricks, moving under wires running across the ceiling.
I wasn't made to click,
Claire turns.
not with you, or you, or you. But with you, I click, and you, I click. We click, like a click, a trio. Hommage à toi.
Claire Cunningham. Full credits at www.pushmeplease.co.uk. Director John Durrant. Copyright Watershed 2012. Arts Council England, Creative Scotland, BBC, The Space.
Okay. What was really interesting about that was sort of asking our film partners. They did a wee vote with all the people who actually connected with it and asked them which version they preferred, and they said the audio description version. which was really, really great to get that feedback. And why was that? Because it was sort of hand-holding. It was sort of supportive through quite unknown and interesting territory, and people found that really quite useful and nice thing. So that was certainly worth considering. So yeah, there we are. Another project was one that I was sort of watching with great relish last year. It was around Stoke Mandeville, and where it can go be embedded even more deeply around characterisation, both in terms of sign language interpretation and audio description. And this was a project that was focused on the start of the Paralympic Games. So it was a historical piece, and it was using someone who was audio describing as a radio broadcast. And that was just beautiful. Someone who had used Stoke Mandeville was there as an actor, sort of dressed in costume. And Caroline Parker, who's very difficult to see that, wasn't my photograph, but was doing the narrative in sign language. She's best known as just got a New Year's honours for her work in sign song. So building those characters in, they're now going on to make this composite that sort of integrates these two characters in, but will be a stream of accessible work throughout the piece as they look at it. I've always been very interested in kinesthetics and the sensory dimension of what live streaming could actually provide. So brilliant to hear it going into hospitals and the connection there. A lot of my work has been with people with complex and multiple learning disability, and I think creating sensory environments and the potential there for live streaming is just the cutting edge of what work could be, but also those environments coming back in and forth, and the potential for composition together is quite extraordinary. And I think I was just looking, obviously knowing that this presentation was coming up, with things that were exciting me around live streaming, and I don't know whether anyone tapped into Queer Contact at Contact Theatre last week. Just an incredibly exciting live stream event that happened from New York, a whole load of choreography and experience that happening, and then a live event that was held in Manchester. And I didn't see it live, it was a wee bit too late for me, but I did click onto it, you know, and it was there for me to enjoy, and I felt the live vibe of it. I really did get on down to it, and there was something very, very powerful about that cultural dimension, just exerting its influence globally, and I found that incredibly exciting. And also at the same time, Queer Contact, we're doing a project called the Polari Mission, looking at the language of the queer communities, and what that could mean in terms of people creating their own captions and experiences and interpretation. So it just, for me, just went, wow, around a cultural festival. How great that could be, how rich and varied in different ways that people could connect and participate. Just was just breathtaking. And wouldn't it be great if this just became part of our second nature? I mean, we're almost there. You know, it's just a question of, oh, feel the fear and do it anyway. And I reckon that if you build in these sort of personal, creative narratives, experiential, lemony thinking, that it will be invested in, because it's so exciting. I say that, I don't, no promises here. So squeeze your thinking, I will say, before the event, during the event, and after, as you think of your archives. Because we can all have a pie fest, can't we? Thank you very much.